Welcome to Junkyard Theory, folks, and tonight's guest is none other than Mr. Arthur Sarkissian, the producer behind the Rush Hour trilogy, and he's got his new movie coming out, The Protege, and he's here to talk to us about all things movies. Arthur, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I'm gonna start off with, pretty much like the obvious question: how did you get into the industry? What's your origin story? You are Armenian, and I'm pretty sure you
Yes,
have quite a long history to, come to where you're at right now. So could you walk us through that a little bit?
sure. Um, my breakthrough was um, basically since I was 5 years old, I just loved movies. My father took me to see my first movie when I was, I think, six. And it was a Western with Kirk Douglas. And I fell in love with movies. And it became my foremost passion, and that's all I did. I was thinking movies, reading movie magazines, just nothing but movies was in my head, more than studying and everything else. So that's where it started. And I always wanted to be a part of it. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I just knew that every movie that came out I wanted to see, good, bad, big, small, whatever. So finally, um, I got a break to do my first movie with Telly Savalas, who did a series called Kojak. He was a very big character actor, Dirty Dozen. I mean, terrific actor. I was in the clothing business designing clothes in London at the time. I had wanted to come to the States and pursue film directing, but for various reasons with my parents, they didn't want me to leave the country and come to the States. It was too far. So I ended up going to boarding school in London. And then after that, I started designing clothes. And, but my passion was always to make movies, to be a part of the industry in the right way, if I could. And so when I got that opportunity with Telly, um, he persuaded me to come to the States, to come to LA and do what I love, because we would talk about movies, and I'd tell him, you know, every cast, every director of any movie, and he would just tell me, why aren't you doing movies? I said, because I don't know, I haven't, timing isn't right, and I'm designing clothes and it's very successful. So, but I love movies. So, and that's how it started. So I did a movie with him. Unfortunately, you know, he was a first time director. He didn't do the right job on it and it didn't work out. But through that, I came across and met some very, very nice people here in the States in the movie business, people that I was lucky enough to have met the right guys, so to speak. And I learned a lot from a gentleman by the name of Howard Koch, who was at one point head of production at Paramount, and probably one of the most uh, honest, straightforward, gracious, full of integrity, just a great guy to know from. And I gauged a lot of people from the days that I met types like him, like Richard Zanuck, Alan Ladd. I mean, quite a few of these guys that they were men of their word. They just like said something. So you sat down, they made a deal with you. There was no paperwork almost all the time. It was on their word. And that's where I started to pick the way I thought this business would be. So that was my entree.
And what you just mentioned, the honor, the loyalty. Do you think that's kind of waned out through the years? Because it's not an easy business.
No, I unfortunately, I mean, I still want to believe that there is. There are, from my experience in the past years, it's become a lot less about loyalty, a lot less about giving your word and not going back on it. It's just become a kind of a, I don't want to discourage people, but it's difficult. It's if you think that, hey, just because he said, but it's in any business too, he said he's going to do that, that doesn't mean he's going to do it. So you have to be very wary of it. Unfortunately, today, it's more about put everything in writing. It's my first advice to anyone who wants to do anything. Just get it in writing. That way, it's in black and white. You won't be disappointed. I know a lot of people, including myself, that go with their heart because they have the passion for whatever it is that they're doing, whether they're designing, building buildings, making movies, doesn't matter what. So that passion overtakes their mind, and they're just so enthusiastic. They want to do it because they're so honest about it, and they're so much in love with what they want to do. Business becomes like a secondary thing. They say, oh, well, it'll work out. No, you get hurt. So, and I learned the hard way. So you have to always be conscious of whatever it is that you're doing, have it written down, very clear, and it will go a long way to help you.
100%. And so people have this common misconception, not necessarily misconception. They have various different ideas when you refer to somebody as a movie producer. And some people think that it's it's a person who just throws in the money and then gets the movie made. But in your own words, what do you as a producer do? How do you basically start off a project, and like what are your tasks? What do you do as a film producer?
Okay, so that is such a vast word, and there are so many different ways of explaining what a producer does. Honestly, it'll be like you could write a book and you will still not be able to find the exact meaning of it. But you get that title. You could come up and finance a movie and say, I want to be a producer. You may know nothing about movie making, but you may love movies and say, hey, I'm worth, I don't know, whatever I'm worth. I'm putting up X. I read this script. I'm putting up the money. I'm the producer. That's one way. There is also the approach you take, and this is where it comes to having the passion and the love for movies, where you want to put something together. So you either find an idea or you dream up an idea, and you have to be a dreamer to be a producer, mostly. You come up with an idea or you read a script. Your passion is whatever it is, whether it's a thriller or an action, whatever it is. You take that, you run with it. If it's an idea, develop it into a screenplay. You get the writer to write it, or a writer may approach you with an idea and say, look, what do you think of this story? If it appeals to you, if you have the money, you put up the money, because to control your properties is very, very important. You can also take that idea, go to a studio, and let the studio option your idea, which, if you get lucky, they'll make it. If not, you will be in development hell, and they will keep trying to do 10 different drafts of it. I mean, you could lose your mind. So, that's what a producer does. He then develops the screenplay, tries to get the right director, puts the package together, tries to get an actor. Sometimes when you go, not sometimes, most of the times you approach an agent, he says, well, who's financing the movie? Now, If he hears Paramount, Fox, Universal, any one of the major studios, or any known independent companies, they pay more attention to you. Or if you are lucky enough to have independent financing, you show through the banks, hey, I have the money, I've got a terrific director, this is the script. And that's where your taste comes in. Um, it's something that you put together, and then you get your actor. If you have the money, you provide a down payment to get that guy or that actor on your project. Then you go and set it up at a studio. Business wise, that's far more lucrative than knocking on studio doors with a script in your hand. Because, listen, you could get lucky and the movie could get made and it'll make a fortune. But then again, 90% of the time, these studios have a very creative way of accounting. And you do all the work and they get all the glory and the profits of it. So for a producer, it's all a matter of, honestly, it's all a matter of just having that love for whatever it is that you do. If you get up one morning and say, you know what, I've been a very successful builder, I've been a great fashion designer, so I'm going to try movies. If you have taste and if you have that drive to just not stop and keep looking, you will find a piece of property, a screenplay, or you can meet a director that may have an idea, you'll develop it together. That's what a producer does. The other kind of producer is basically technical, which he's on the set of the movie. He does all the nuts and bolts, putting the production manager, production designer, being there 24/7, which is not what I do. But that's a specific craft known as line producers. But you make sure whoever you're hiring knows what they're doing. They understand budgets, they understand locations, they understand, contingencies, and they have the personality to be, um, on a level with you, with the director. It's all personalities too. As a producer, you're putting a movie together. You also shouldn't, I don't think so, because I don't do it, is to sit on the set and just order things around. It causes all sorts of anxiety. It's once a movie goes, it's the director's movie. You have to trust your director. That's it. It's in his hands. Sitting there telling him what to do most of the time would create problems and stuff like that. But put your package together, develop several things. You can't just develop one thing and, well, you may get lucky and that one thing will go. But you have to have a few things and you start shopping it around. But if you find the financing first, I would advise that would be the best way to break in, with money behind you. Unless you're an incredibly talented writer, you write an ingenious script, because it's all down to what's on the page. No matter what they tell you, you can have all the money in the world. If the script is crap, it's crap. Nobody can do anything. So, and everybody's looking for terrific scripts. So I know sometimes, unfortunately, the people that make the decisions there don't know what they're talking about. I can give you stories about, how Jaws got made, how Star Wars got made, and hundreds of movies.
Yeah.
And so you got to believe in what you believe. You can't go out there and say, oh, Mr. Joan Smith said, I can't do this movie because the other one failed. No, it's all nonsense. And that's
And
it.
you've got, yeah, sorry, go on.
Please, go ahead.
You got this amazing track record when it comes to, producing movies. Like, how do you pick the projects to work on? is it always like just a screenplay that comes to you first and you read it and you love it, or is there like, is it subjective every time?
No. Well, with me, since I was raised just basically loving movies and knowing movies, I have a very good knowledge of old movies, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I love remakes. I would sit and watch a movie at home, and my mind would start ticking, and I would say, you know what? It's a great idea, but at the time when they made that movie, they couldn't get Steve McQueen, they couldn't get Clint Eastwood, they couldn't get a superstar, but they got a B actor, which again doesn't mean good or bad, but it was such a great idea. Nobody went to see it and nobody knows the movie. So I would take that and try to retell or remake it in a different way. Um, that is one of my approaches. It always has been, and it's like the way Rush Hour came to me. One of my favorite action comedies back in the '70s was in 1974. It was with James Caan and Alan Arkin. It was called Freebie and the Bean, which was an action comedy, and it to me was the godfather of all action comedies at the time. And I saw that, and years later, I was inspired between Freebie and the Bean and the French Connection to come up with my idea of doing a movie about a fish out of water, foreign cop, and an American cop. So I told the writer, I want something like the French Connection and a movie called Cry Terror, which was about a kidnapping of a family and a bomb. So I just gave him the parameters of what I'm looking for, and he went away, came back. Yeah, I think about maybe 2 months later, he walked in. He put this script in front of me, and it said Rush Hour. So that's how it started. And then when I read it and I finished it, I said, it's pretty much very close to what I want. But Rush Hour has nothing to do with the. He said, "Well, I think it's a good title." So that's how the title got stuck. But that's what you do. You just if you have a vast kind of knowledge of film and books and you just search. You just search, and it's your personal taste. If something appeals to you, um, you go for it. You also need to understand that there are sometimes people that want to tell a story that is very intellectual, which is not commercial, but that's the individual. You know, I kind of tend to go for, I love every genre. I love thrillers, comedies, action, gangster movies. I just love them all. I just need to see something told, and uh, movies are derivative art form anyway. It's you can't reinvent the wheel, but you can tell the same story in a different way depending on your characters and your dialogue and your structure. Uh, that's what that's what does it, I think.
And your filmography, like you said, it varies like throughout the whole genre spectrum. But I at least I tend to notice like you made quite more action movies than any other genre. Is there any tiny
Yeah,
affinity towards action?
well, I did While You Were Sleeping with Sandra
Hmm.
Bullock, which was a romantic comedy.
Yes.
Um, Again, I love heartfelt stories. Um, I did Last Man Standing, which was based on Yojimbo, the Kurosawa movie that I bought the rights to. Again, as I said, I did Wanted Dead or Alive. It was one of my favorite TV shows with Steve McQueen, so I wanted to remake that, and I did it with Rutger Hauer. I just find things. I mean, I love historical dramas. I have projects that I love that I've developed, but unfortunately, you know, the people that can write the checks and finance the movies have different opinions about it. So that doesn't mean I'm going to give up on them. Hopefully, I will be able to bring them to fruition. But I'm just basically all over the place, only because I just love this this movie thing. So you just have to be very passionate about it. You eat, drink, sleep, movies. That's it. Everything
That's
else comes
life.
second. That's it. That's it. You can go watch
100%.
whoever is, if it's a 20-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid now wanting to be in the movies. I'd say watch as many movies as you can. Don't just wake
Yeah.
up one day and say, you know what, I'm kind of bored, so I'm going to start making movies. And you may or may not work, but it's all from passion.
True. And as derivative as the work can be, your movies, like until you told me about Russia, I did not know it was you kind of try to not reinvent, like try to remake something, because
Right.
every single time, like you do something, it's kind of like adapted and packaged to a whole different audience, and packaged in such a way that it seems pretty original. How do you guys achieve that?
I mean, for me, it's again, it comes back to the subject matter that you choose. There's some people that are only attracted to, let's say, making horror movies or doing comedies, and nothing else appeals to them. I don't know that world, but I think, to me, if somebody is passionate about movie making and they have the love for movies, then it's a wide spectrum. Um, it's whatever, as I said, a touching story could appeal to me right now. I would go make it, but by the same time, a very tough gangster violent movie, because of its characters, would also appeal to me. So I don't have an area, but I can tell you this: my favorite, since I was raised by them, is westerns, and they're very they're very difficult to make. But I mean, I love it. I mean, if I can make one, but it's got to be
Favorite Western movie of all time?
sorry
Favorite Western movie of all time?
for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Wild Bunch. I don't have one. I can't. Wild Bunch is one. Um, uh, the Gunfighter is another one with Gregory Peck. Uh, I mean, I have so many. Once Upon
So
a
many.
Time in the West, Fistful of Dollars, Unforgiven,
Mhm.
and My Darling Clementine, and
Nice.
Gunfight at the OK Corral. I just love them. Great.
Amazing. I want to come back to Rush Hour. So, casting Jackie Chan from all the way from Hong Kong. He he was already big by the time you guys got him in Rush Hour,
Right.
and him and Chris Tucker getting two people from like minorities, at least in America, and making this movie like work and spawning an entire franchise.
Right.
Like that was amazing, and like people to this day, people are screaming for Rush Hour 4. That's how good the franchise is.
Well, I'm really very hard at work trying to put that together.
Nice.
I really am, because when I set out to make Rush Hour, I didn't know what the chemistry would be. I knew what I wanted was, uh, again, something close to Freebie and the Bean, and you should see that movie, by the way. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. 90
Gotta put it
percent
on my list. Yeah.
90% of it was improvised between Alan Arkin and James Caan.
Wow.
And Richard Rush directed it. He was a terrific director, terrific director. Um, and so it was a cross between that and as I said, one of my favorites, French Connection, which inspired me to come up with something in between. And of course, one of my all-time favorites was 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. So that's how the thing came about. That's what I wanted to achieve. Getting Jackie Chan, since the script called for an Asian cop. There were only two people that could do it at the time. It was Chow Yun-fat or Jackie Chan. Now, Chow Yun-fat was more serious, and of course, not so much martial arts, but Jackie was more fun, acrobatic. So the humorous way, the comedic way was Jackie Chan. The French Connection way was Chow Yun-fat. And when I developed the script, he went to Disney, they bought it, and collectively we were talking to somebody to do a rewrite on it. So my writer did a rewrite on it before we brought somebody else to make it more humorous. And we decided that it would be Jackie because it would be closer to Freebie and the Bean, which is what I wanted, than the French Connection. So I wanted more of a fun movie. They at the time wanted to make it with Martin Lawrence and Jackie Chan, and as good as Martin is and was, Martin had just finished a movie called Nothing to Lose with Tim Robbins, which was a road type movie. Again, he was comedic, but he was basically a two-hander out there with bickering and all of that. So I was not very excited about that because I just wanted something a little bit different. So Disney told me we're not going to make this movie with Jackie Chan. His movies don't work, and that's it. I said, well, just give it back to me. So I got it back. A friend of mine at the time, Mike DeLuca, was running New Line, and they had just made a movie called Money Talks with Chris Tucker. So I saw the movie and I thought it was terrific. It was very funny. Charlie Sheen was great in it, but Chris was just really blew me away. And they said we want to make you with them, and that's how it happened. So when we met, and when the director met with the actors, neither one of them technically understood what the other one said. Jackie said, I can't understand what Chris is saying. How am I going to act in a movie when I don't understand what this guy's saying? And Chris said, I don't understand anything that's coming out of his mouth. He can't speak English. So that was their chemistry. And no one can write that. So it's lightning in a bottle. Either you get it or you don't. So basically, that's how Rush Hour happened.
Amazing.
I didn't, I didn't believe if anybody told me, hey, this is how it's going to work, I would have. It was, it's not like I don't know. Nobody knows. You just put your best foot forward. You love whatever you have in your hands, and you do the best you can.
And hope it falls into place.
Exactly.
Yeah. And moving on from Rush Hour to The Foreigner, when I saw this trailer, I was like, damn, Jackie's known for his comedic timing combined with martial arts. And then here you have Jackie playing like a totally serious character, someone dealing with like trauma. And that was like phenomenal. How did you, when you produced this movie, how did you know Jackie would be a fit for this particular character?
I knew Jackie wanted to do a serious role. And he had done some in his recent movies in Hong Kong and China. But I knew he had the chops as an actor to be dramatic because he's a very soulful guy. He has a great heart, And when you have a soft spot in your heart, you can transcend from comedy to drama to anything. But very sensitive. So I knew he could do a sensitive movie. And again, it was written for a Chinese guy, and Jackie to me came to mind immediately. The writer brought me the script. In that instance, the script was already done. When he came to me, he said, Jackie really likes this. I said he'd be great for it, but he won't commit. Can you talk to him? I said, well, I'll talk to him, but it's all down to the director. And so Jackie and I went back and forth. I gave him some names. My favorite was Martin Campbell, who did Casino Royale, obviously, amongst other
Yeah.
things. And he said, Casino Royale is my favorite Bond movie, which happens to be probably in the top 2 of my favorite Bond movies. So we flew out to China, to Beijing, met with Jackie. We had 3 days there, Martin Campbell and I and Jackie, and he loved him, and The Foreigner was born. But it was a lot to do with Martin Campbell.
Got you.
Martin's a terrific director. He's
amazing.
I mean, when he gets on a movie, it's like he's a different human being, because he just becomes that. He's full of energy. He's on the set an hour before the crew. He's leaves the set an hour after the crew. It really is a dedicated director, and very well prepared.
That's always amazing. And as a producer, do you always kind of keep your audience in mind, or how do you make sure that your films appeal to a wide enough audience?
Well, that comes from the subject matters you choose. Like I tend to gravitate towards commercial movies, whether it's a romantic comedy, whether it's a thriller, whether it's a historical drama. That's what I've always kind of like been pulled to. I'm not one for artsy movies. I just get bored, and I'd rather read a book or go
I
look
hear
at
you.
a painting. And go look at a painting. When I go to the movies, I want to be entertained, either to be scared the hell out of, laugh, cry, or be absolutely on the edge of my seat. That's what drives me to choose whatever it is that I want to do.
Brilliant. And with streaming services like Netflix coming into play, how do you kind of see the filmmaking landscape changing? I mean, like, the pandemic has kind of shifted the power play as well between theaters and streaming. So, as a producer, how do you navigate these waters?
Well, I mean, this is fairly new to me and to many others, based on the pandemic, based on what's going on, based on all this. Unfortunately, I don't want to get political, but with the cancel culture and stuff like it, it's just changed everything upside down. So you have to be kind of so wary of everything right now. But as far as Netflix and Amazon, I'm very happy to say I've seen them make some really good things. Not all of them have been great. There are, movies that they're just like throwing out there, which, I wouldn't be able to watch. Neither would you. But, it's a great source of financing, and they've done some terrific stuff. They've got the guts to step up. I love Netflix. I love Amazon. I love the streamers.
They
But
tend to experiment quite a lot, right?
Sorry?
They tend to experiment like quite a lot.
They're just churning them out. Like
Exactly.
every week there is 3 others. I mean, I'm even lost. I don't know what to watch, what not to watch. I tend to watch the limited series, which happens to be one of my favorite things to do on the streamers, because they've got some great ones on Netflix and Amazon and others. But to me, the experience of seeing a movie on the wide screen, it will never change. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, it's shaken it up. I mean, we're having, right now you're looking at the new one that we have coming out, the Protege. Some people are wary of going to the theater. That really affects you. And it's sad because to watch a movie sitting at home with your family members is one thing, but to go and experience it with all these strangers and hearing them and experiencing that great screen, it's a whole different feeling. Now, that is not to say, because almost everybody now has a big screen and so on and so forth, but when your movies are contained and smaller, it's okay. But when you're doing, big action-packed movies and, wide locations and dramas, historical dramas and whatever, I just can't get the same experience watching it at home, the phone ringing, the light coming out. It's not the same thing. And I'm just like really have my fingers crossed that hopefully things will go back to at least a point where we will never lose the theaters. I don't think we ever will lose the theaters. I don't care how much they advance streamers and all that. I think that's just an outing for people that was always there. And as you could see in China and everywhere else, how huge everything was until this damn pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wish everybody the best.
Fingers crossed that things kind of go back to some sense of normal and that we can like return to theaters. Because the last movie that I remember watching with a massive crowd was The Avengers,
Crazy.
the Endgame. Yeah, that was amazing.
I mean,
And
so many movies have been held up.
yeah,
They're just opening up now slowly. It's just sad.
it is. It is. The entertainment industry has been like hit pretty bad. So has various other industries, but entertainment is like hit pretty hard, and that hurts.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. When it comes to producing films, throughout the years, do you think it's kind of gotten easier now, or is it even more competitive and
No, I
hard?
think it's harder.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder in the sense that because of the unknown, it's like who you're going to, where do you go? Um, it's become very competitive. So when you're going to the studios, the first question is, well, excuse me one second. I'm sorry, it was a phone call I just had to get.
All good. No worries.
So it's become competitive, and also it's this not knowing where am I releasing a movie. Then it's got to be on the home screen. I've got the other studio releasing this movie. It's kind of like the same as when the theaters were there. Everybody was juggling, but now it's become a lot more difficult. And as I said, there's so much content out there that it's like murky. Um, and
There's so much to choose from, and you gotta create something that
yeah,
stands out, right?
I know. And then if they put 200 things in front of you, 200 shirts, let's say, it's gonna be very difficult for you. You're gonna say, oh, and I don't know. You just kind of like you don't concentrate. But that's where quality stands out. That's what hopefully all these streamers would do to concentrate on making some really good stuff.
100%. And your movie, The Protege, was this filmed during the pandemic? And if so, what challenges did you guys face?
Well, the movie was almost done when the pandemic hit,
Mm-hmm.
but we got shut down maybe we had maybe 8 to 10 days left, which
Gotcha.
got very lucky. And I was stuck here. I couldn't go for the 8 days, and they finished the balance in Bulgaria. And when you see the movie, I mean, you can't tell that we did not make this movie in Thailand. Um, I mean, the locations, our location manager was fantastic. The crew was great, and it turned out really good. I'm very, very proud of it.
And it's releasing, I think, exactly 1 week from
It's
now.
on the it's on the 20th. It's exactly
Nice.
1 week from today.
Awesome. I am so excited to see it. I mean, like Samuel
Well,
L.
let me
Jackson's
know
in
what do you
it.
think.
Of course.
And
I'm gonna have to wait until it releases over here in Sri Lanka.
sorry.
I'm gonna have to wait until it releases over here in Sri
Yeah,
Lanka.
I know.
Yeah, but it's always a treat to watch Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, he's great. Michael
He's
Keaton is
amazing.
great, and I have to tell you, Maggie Q is phenomenal. She did such a fantastic job. I'm so
Yeah,
proud of her. She's also a wonderful human being, smart, friendly, down to earth. Did all the stunts, almost all of them, 90% of them. Nothing was too difficult for her, and it's great to work with people like that.
that's amazing. So, as a producer, what qualities do you cultivated throughout the years, and what if any are some transferable skills that you hopefully learned from designing clothes, I guess.
Um, well, without being cocky, because I'm not trying to be cocky, but taste is very important.
Mm.
If you style, taste, um, your desire for, I don't know how to put it, colors in clothing, if you can match them, if it comes together. It's the same thing as making a movie. It's just coming together. The material you choose, the coordination of the shirts and the ties and the pants or the dresses, whatever. It's all about taste, and it's all about your inner desire of what you love, uh, and that's where it all starts. It's all about the passion inside you, whether it's creating a screenplay, writing a book, or designing a dress, or building a building. It's what you're dreaming about, and when what you say to yourself, I wish, if I saw this here, I saw that there, if this was brown, that was gray, or he said this, or the other character said that. It's all about that, and it's finding people that end up agreeing with you, whether it's the director, the writer. uh, that's how you put it together. What I've learned is be gracious, leave the director as much alone as you can if you trust him. um, don't let people sway you and talk you out of something if you really believe in it. Be very careful, put everything in writing, and if you I know it's cliche, but don't take no for an answer. They close the door, you climb through the window. They close the window, you climb through the chimney. But you get in there any which way you can, and that's it. It's just being as adamant as you can.
And resilient.
God
Yeah.
willing, you will succeed.
Yeah.
God forbid if you don't, you will never sit back and say, you know what, I love this. This was my passion, and I never tried it because I didn't give it all. And that's what you need to do, I think. Give it all, and for the most part, it pays off.
And I think you mentioned like a really amazing point about leaving the director alone if you trust them, and
Yes.
that goes to show like how collaborative like the art form can be.
Yes.
So picking the director, yeah, that's first and foremost. That's very important. But hiring other key personnel, any key, any qualities that you look for in them?
Well, yeah, absolutely. You look at the resumes, you talk to them, you see what they've done. Um, you get a feel. You get a feel talking to your director of photography, costume designer. They tell you ideas. Um, you start discussing this project, and suddenly you feel, hey, she is talking the same language. She's bringing up
Hmm.
examples of movies that I think is perfect for this. So you build that
Yeah.
trust by getting to know them. And you can tell, you can easily tell if somebody's just trying to uh, kind of like butter your head, or they really actually are good at what they
Yeah.
do. It's
True.
it's 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 not difficult to tell.
True. Arthur, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
joining us. Arthur's such a busy guy, and he's got the Protege coming out in 1 week. So, wherever you guys are, go check it out. I think we need support, people supporting the industry at this point, because it's not easy with the pandemic. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much that we could probably talk with Arthur. Hopefully, some other time, maybe after another movie or two premieres, and
Yes,
hopefully, once the pandemic has kind of died down. But Arthur, thank you so much for
my
joining us.
pleasure. My pleasure. Good luck to everyone. I wish you the best.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Take care.